Hey, I'm TV and Movie Guy on Instagram, and I'll be reviewing all of the MCU leading up to the new movie Deadpool and Wolverine in July. I'm watching the MCU in release order so that anyone that hasn't watched before can watch along with me. I won't be talking about the movies or shows until I get to them. We'll only discuss any of the shows or movies up to that point. I'll be reviewing them assuming that you're either very familiar with the movie or had just watched it. I have not read any of the comics, so don't have any of that base of knowledge. All I know is what they've shown me on the screen for the MCU. I'll be reviewing Avengers Age of Ultron today. If you don't want to be spoiled, then go and watch it. Come back, watch this video. And with that, allons-y. Overall review for Avengers Age of Ultron is it's a strange sequel that doesn't meet the Avengers standard, in my mind. And to explain it to you like you were 5, the Avengers are taking out remnants of Hydra and superpowered twins while recovering Loki's scepter. Tony and Bruce use that scepter to try to create Ultron. Ultron ultimately creates itself being AI and continues to improve itself, trying to carry out the mission of peace in our time. Its solution is to cause an extinction event, since humans are the reason for there not being peace. It creates Vision with the Mind Stone to help in his mission. The Avengers and the twins team up to disrupt that creation and save humanity from Ultron. And my overall rating for this movie would be it's okay. And the only reason why it's okay is because only reason why it's not or I didn't like it in that category is because of the ramifications from it and the pieces you get from this movie that lead to things later on. Like when I first watched this movie, I was like, I do not like this movie at all. But with the MCU doing what they did, it made it a little bit better. So it's okay. 3 stars. Okay, and then going into my actual review of the movie, I was trying to figure out why I don't like it all that much, and I think it's the writing. I think that had a lot to do with it. The dialogue, it seemed too grandiose and profound in general. There wasn't a whole lot of straight talk. It was more bigger picture things or using phrases that are beating around the bush or just, there's a word for it. I couldn't think of it. It's basically euphemisms just to make the same point, but just in a grand way. But yeah, to do that throughout a whole movie, it's not real. People use the phrases, sure, but it's not meant to have a whole conversation with like they do in this movie. So I think, though, that was a big reason why the dialogue just wasn't great for me in this one. And another part I think I don't like it is it doesn't, or another reason why I don't think it meets the Avengers standard is because it was a problem of their own creation. Well, technically Tony's and Bruce's. And in the scope of the first Avengers, it seemed like this wasn't as much of a threat. They didn't build the stakes enough for me, even though you would think extinction would be worse than being ruled over by an alien army. On that one-to-one comparison, yes, extinction seems worse than being ruled over, but it seemed like the first Avengers was much better at creating stakes and making it seem more just, I don't know. I was not getting that same feeling in this one as I did the first Avengers of the world's gonna end. We got the first mention of Wakanda in this movie, where Bruce botches the pronunciation, saying Wakanada, and it's kind of funny him just being a genius, and you would think he knows geography and would be able to pronounce any country in the world, but yeah. James Spader lends his voice to the MCU, and it's a great recognizable voice for Ultron that did make him seem imposing, because it's hard to do that with a villain. It's like his voice just has that credibility and just has a timber to it that you catch on to it real quick, either for good or bad. And in this one, it was very important to latch onto that voice very quick and just think that, yes, he's the villain. But I think they ruined it by having him seem like not his voice, but more they made the villain. They ruined the villain by having him seem human with some of the dialogue, where he can't think of the word for children, or he slices off an arm and is apologetic. Like, I don't think that an AI that wants the human race to be extinct would forget a word or care about someone's arm being chopped off. So, I don't know. He chopped off Andy Serkis's arm. Andy Serkis, a great addition and a great fit into the MCU. Likely best known for Gollum in Lord of the Rings, but I know he's in like a ton of other stuff. He's in Star Wars and other things, but just he's in those kinds of fictionalized worlds that everyone can just latch onto, and he's a good chameleon. He really fits into each one of those worlds. And so in this one, he's a black market dealer, and he was very eclectic, and that jumped off the screen in his like very limited role in the few scenes that he had. But the worst thing in this movie had to be the Natasha and Bruce relationship. Like, I say relationship, but the thing they showed us, it just came out of nowhere. There was nothing in the movies before this about them. They didn't have any chemistry. When I was talking about a whole conversation not being real, their dialogue when he's coming out of the shower and she's about to go in, when they're talking about should we or shouldn't we, all of it would have been better just in plain language, not all the talk around metaphors, double meanings that they were speaking in. Since it's not an actual romance, though, Thane still holds the title for worst romance. But if this had developed and they did kiss, but they didn't end up together, it would have become the worst for sure. Then the Thanos mid-credits scene, where he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." He had nothing to do with this one. It doesn't make sense after this movie for him to say that. Maybe we're supposed to, like, obviously this scene seems like it's out of order, so it's likely out of order, and we're meant to know it takes place like right after Guardians of the Galaxy because it makes way more sense after that movie. But, I mean, yeah, it builds the stakes for Thanos. Like, okay, he's coming. It's a looming threat. He put the gauntlet on. He's coming. All right, and yeah, just not a whole lot I want to talk about or like to review it. I just didn't like it, and I think the movie itself I don't like. Like I said, it's only okay because of what comes after, so I don't really like to talk about this one too much, and there's really not much to talk about other than why I said I didn't like it. Then going on to my segments of who's that little dude, because behind every so-called hero is a little pissed off dude that don't get no credit. In this movie, it's Jarvis, even though you could technically... No, Vision's the hero, so the little pissed off dude is Jarvis. Jarvis was keeping Ultron from accessing nuclear codes, which would have made it all too easy for Ultron to complete his mission of the extinction event of Earth. Then, memorable scenes and lines from this movie. It starts out with a one-shot showing all the Avengers separately that ended up showing them all within the same clipping. We didn't have to wait too long for them to all be together in this one. It was right at the start, very first shot. No build up to this one, though, so it doesn't get me going like the one in the first did, but it's still memorable. It's a nice shot. But the most memorable scene for me from this movie is definitely when they're at the party and they're all trying to lift Thor's hammer Mjolnir. And I love his reaction when Cap makes it budge a little and there's the sound effect of the squeak and Thor's face and reaction is great. Uh, then another scene would be Steve Rogers. He just, they're all, he and Tony are splitting wood, and for whatever reason, he grabs one and just tears it barehanded, not using an axe. It was ridiculous, but it's still memorable to me. And then some lines. I do like the Vision line of, but a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. Uh, I took a random Buddhist course in college, and it just reminded me of like Buddhists, and it could be in other religions too, but just because I took that class, I attribute it to Buddhism. That impermanence is the way of life, and I remember they use like colored sand to make these intricate designed like, I don't know what they call them, and can't remember the word, but it's just basically an art piece where they meticulously craft it with colored sand, and it's beautiful. And then shortly after they finish it, they immediately just take it apart. I say take it apart as if it was like building blocks or something, but no, they like just sweep away the sand, and it's like you spend all that time. But yeah, that line just reminded me of that, and I don't know, it's just a line I remember. And then the big line from this movie that gets a lot of flack and people mad is the Natasha's line of, still think you're the only monster on the team. Like, people take it to only mean she's saying it because she can't have kids, and I think she means it when she's talking about everything else, not that part. So she talks about it makes it easier to take care of the mission, nothing to distract from the mission, makes killing easier. That's what I think she's referring to when saying she's a monster. Like, she's saying she can't have kids. She's not a monster for that. She's a monster because it makes everything else easier, all the bad stuff easier, and she didn't seem to have a problem with it before. So, just my take on that line, but I don't think it's meant to mean she's a monster because she can't have kids. I never took it to mean that, but so many people did. And with that, strange transition, these are the jokes. Rhodes in his tank story, not getting the reaction, so he tells it again, and is smug when he gets the reaction he wants from non-Avengers. And then nobody has to break anything except to make an omelet. And Tony's like, he beat me by 1 second. It's a quick line, quick dialogue, and it's pretty good. And then the scene keeps moving. And then my favorite joke would have to be Hawkeye. Quicksilver runs off at the end, and Hawkeye points his arrow at him. Nobody would know. Wouldn't be missed. And then as he's riding off, or running off, quick little bastard, I miss him already. Last I saw, Ultron was sitting on him. Yeah. They had a good friendly back and forth throughout the movie, so it was good seeing their relationship. And then what happened to the bad in this one? So Ultron, Vision cut him off from the internet, so he technically can't transfer himself from one network to another, and Vision also destroyed the physical body. So Ultron being AI, though, I don't think he can truly die, but it seemed like a killing. So I would say he's dead. But again, AI can just come back. Like, it can leave little traces and just build itself again. So I don't think it's technically out of the realm of possibility that he could return, but yeah. All right, loose threads from this one. seems like Thanos is coming for the Infinity Stones now, so, like, again, it didn't make sense in this movie for him to say it, but because he said it in this one, it's a loose thread for this one. And then, did this movie solve any of them? It did. So, Captain America Winter Soldier, the post-credit scene, the guy that had Loki's scepter, that was Baron von Strucker, and the twins that he had were the Maximoff twins, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Yep. So that post-credit scene was revealed in this one. So, but there's still something open from Captain America: Winter Soldier, whether or not anything that Black Widow dumped on the internet from Hydra or Shield, when she dumped it to the public, whether or not there's any ramifications from that. Not in this one, but we'll see. Cameo. So Stan Lee was a old veteran and got drunk on Thor's 1,000-year-old beer or mead or something that aged 1,000 years, and said his catchphrase of Excelsior. So it was good. It was very. The line just fit him perfectly, that being what he always said. Okay. And then didn't see any questions come through. And if you want to leave any, or if you have anything you want to say, like what you liked or didn't like about this movie, just put it in the comments section or email me at tvandmovieguyproductions@gmail.com. Well, that's all I had. Again, feel free to ask questions, leave comments. I'm on Instagram at tvandmovieguy, where I review TV shows and movies. Shorter reviews than what I'm doing here. Just a reminder, I've never worked on any engagement or counted any votes or ballots for any award shows. The opinions are my own and do not reflect that of my employers. My next review for the MCU will be Ant-Man. Well, see ya.